I came out with a concept for studying inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. We're going to study these from an ITTO lens. So let's go straight into chapter 1. In chapter 1, it breaks down the legend. You've got a yellow rectangle, which shows you that this process is going to give an output. Then we have a white rectangle, which shows this process is going to receive an input. So take a look. The first page that breaks this down is figure A1. A1 because we're moving through every single ITTO. That's right, that's right. You heard it right. Every single ITTO in the PMBOK guide is going to be studied under the microscope. So here we have accepted deliverables as an output. We're trying to understand, where does accepted deliverables come from? And you can see in this image, accepted deliverables is an output of validate scope. But then the next question is, where does accepted deliverables go as an input? You see, to every input or output, the question of where did you come from and where you going needs to be asked. So we can see accepted deliverables comes from validate scope, but look here, it is going to a process called close project or phase as an input. And this is figure A2 on the next page. Do you see that? Output from validate scope. First of all, understand where it came from, and then know where it's going, the input. If you can make that mental connection between the process validate scope and its output, accepted deliverables, and then again accepted deliverables as an input to close project or phase, you are getting to make those connections that are going to give you a huge payoff ultimately on your test. Because it's not enough to know the definitions, you also need to know the connection points and inflows. Here's the next one, activity attributes. Activity attributes is an output of defined activities, as you can see. But the question, where does activity attributes go as an input, is answered on the next page. Now, you cannot study these as fluidly and as dynamically and as easily without ITTO science. There's no other publication that examines ITTOs like this for your PMP exam. Even the PMBOK guide does not. The PMBOK guide showed you the multiple data flows by process, but it does not focus or hone in on these ITTOs. So let's take a look at the next slide. Activity attributes is an input to 4 processes: sequence activities, estimate activity resources, estimate activity durations, and develop schedule. What do you very rapidly realize as you're studying these? You discover that when activity attributes is created from defined activities, which is in scheduling, time management, within planning, the moment you get activity attributes, it becomes an input to every other process after it within planning. That's a major discovery. Now, not only have I been instrumental in putting ITTO science together, I have actually used ITTO science to study for one of my exams. I used ITTO science to study for my CAP-M exam the first time I took my CAP-M exam back in 2011. And I discovered all sorts of relationships between inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. So right now, we haven't even scratched the surface. I've just been showing you the letter A. It goes all the way down to, from A to Z in terms of the inputs, outputs. Here's another one. Closed procurement. While it comes from closed procurement, it goes nowhere because that's the end of the chain. We get the closed procurement and that's it. All right. Take a look at communications management plan. It comes from plan communications management. Where does it go? It goes to manage communications and manage stakeholder engagement. These are relationships that are good for you to know. Determine budget gives you the cost baseline. Control cost gives you cost forecasts. Cost forecasts, of course, you remember, go to monitor and control project work. And if you didn't remember, hey, it's a good opportunity to learn. Also, schedule forecasts goes to monitor and control project work. Let's look for schedule forecast. I'll show you that here. See, there's so much content here. I mean, it's crazy. By the time you get done with this book, trust me, you will be all over these ITTOs. Here we go. Schedule forecasts and input to monitor and control project work. You see, you have got so many relationships to study, so many things that you need to know. And the quickest and the best way to do it, especially if you learn visually, sit down with ITTO Science. Go page by page. Understand the logic. Understand what is being said. Now, this is all just still the inputs and outputs from the ITTOs. Just the inputs and output section of the ITTOs. Now, let's go to chapter 2. Let's go into the tools and techniques. So take a look. Acquisition. We're going alphabetically again. Acquisition is a tool and technique used in which process? Where do you use acquisition? Do you use it in acquire project team, or do you use it in conduct procurements? The answer is acquire project team. You see? How about additional quality planning tools? Do you know where this is used? I'm going to guess that it's perhaps plan quality management and maybe perform quality assurance. I guess we'll learn. Let's see. Well, it's used in plan quality management only, it seems. Yep. You see what I'm saying? Advertising, tool and technique of conduct procurements. Alternative analysis, tool and technique in what? This could be estimate activity resources. I think so. Let's see. I got it right. You see, the more you study this book, the more this stuff will stick. I'm going to show you something that jumped out at me when I studied for my CAPM exam, and I'm going to look for, there we go, that's it, Analogous Estimating. From this book, I discovered that analogous estimating was not used all across the board where you have estimate activity resources, estimate activity duration, estimate cost. No, no, no. I found out that you use analogous estimating in estimate activity durations and estimate costs. And without this book, it wouldn't have clicked. Do you know what else clicked as I used this book? I also discovered that the only process that uses all 4 estimating approaches, analogous, bottom-up, 3-point, and parametric, the only process that uses all 4 estimating approaches is estimate cost. I also discovered that estimate activity durations uses 3. It does not use bottom-up estimating. Estimate activity resources does. You see, even I, the author, learned from the book. I learned from the book towards my CAPM exam back in 2011. And I still use this book to study relationships. So what am I trying to say? This book is huge. There's so much content for you to go through. If you really want to hone in, know your ITTOs, stop fussing and fighting with your ITTOs, get them down to a science. This is the book you want. Okay? And with that, I am done. I'm going to get off my soapbox. You know what to do. Follow the link below. Get this. This is the price of a few Happy Meals. So what are you waiting for?